Hello folks, meteorologist Jamie Cagle here with your 12 News Weather School. Now I want to bring you just a short little weather lesson here. We're going to talk about something you probably hear in the weather forecast probably each and every day. And really, it doesn't depend on where in the world you are watching this video because it will pertain to you in one way or another. We're going to talk about dew point. You probably hear it in the weather forecast and sometimes you think, what really is the dew point and why do I care about it? But whether you live in the desert, like here in Phoenix, or whether you live in the subtropics in southwest Florida, or you're up around the Great Lakes, or even the 10,000 lakes, again, that dew point will be a critical little part to that forecast that'll give you an indication of how nice or how uncomfortable, how humid or how dry it might feel in your neighborhood. So we're going to start out by taking a look at my ever-impressive high-tech whiteboard that I have here for you. So we're talking about temperature basically versus dew point. So we know what temperature is, or we should all know what temperature is. So we're talking about an air temperature, and for this instance we're going to say it's 80 degrees outside, so it's a summer day for most of us. There's your dew point, and it's at 40 degrees. And I'll tell you right now, kind of jumping ahead, this would feel amazing outside for most people. This would have a little on the drier feel to a day. It would be a nice, warm, but very comfortable day to be outside. Your relative humidity at this point is about 50%. So the dew point, in essence, that is the temperature, because we give it in temperature right there. But notice it's not near the air temperature. The dew point is the temperature in which you would have to cool the air outside down to in order for that water vapor, that mugginess, if you will, the humidity outside, the water vapor that's in the air. You would have to cool the air down to 40 degrees for that water vapor to condense and turn into water droplets, and many times we refer to this as dew. So as you walk out on that green grass in the morning, then there's dew on the grass. That is a classic example of when your air temperature has dropped to your dew point. This is also an indication of how comfortable it might feel outside. Typically with those dew points, you really don't notice humidity, meaning walking outside and you kind of have that feel of, it's a little stuffy out here. You might start to notice some of the humidity as the dew points get into the 50s, really. The 40s you could have a little subtle notice of it, but as those 40s turn into 50s, turn into 60s, you're increasing that mugginess, that muggy feel to the air. And when it gets into the 70s, that is when we call it oppressive. And that is when it is very difficult for you to cool down outside, when it has that just nasty, nasty, muggy feel outside. Now, why does it feel so muggy, or why is it so uncomfortable to be outside when those dew points are climbing from the 50s to the 60s to the 70s? And why do we just get that really unbearable feel to the weather? That's also when we run the risk of heat stroke, heat exhaustion, things like that. And that is because our bodies cool itself by sweating. And beyond sweating, that sweat evaporates. Evaporation is a cooling process. And when the relative humidity starts to climb and that dew point starts to climb, the body can't evaporate, or the sweat on your body can't evaporate as quickly, as readily, and therefore it's not able to cool itself. And that is why higher dew points feel so uncomfortable to us. We start to warm up because our body can't cool itself any longer. That sweat doesn't evaporate as readily, and that's when you run into the heat exhaustion, the heat stroke, and some serious health concerns. In fact, extreme temperatures, extreme heat and extreme cold are the most deadliest form of weather that we have in terms of total deaths. A lot of people think tornadoes and hurricanes. No, extreme temperatures. So what happens is, as that temperature starts to drop towards the dew point, again, we talk about the condensation. Think of it this way. Let's say I take a cold can of pop or soda out of the refrigerator on a hot, sunny, steamy day, and I walk outside with it. I'm holding on to it, and it's a dry can in my hand, but it's cold. It's ice cold in my hand. And you wait just a couple of minutes, and you start to see those little droplets of water forming on the Coke can, let's say. Looks like the can is sweating. That is because the air immediately around that Coke can is cooling that temperature down to the dew point and probably even beyond it. If it's, say, the can of pop is 38 degrees, it's going to easily cool it to the dew point, and that's when you get the condensation on the can. And that's the same thing that we have happen outside, whether it's dew, could be fog. It's also going to get to the point when we're talking about getting into showers and thunderstorms, because that humidity is fuel for showers and thunderstorms. So if you increase the humidity, you're now increasing the potential for rain, precipitation, snowfall, showers, and thunderstorms, so on and so forth. So I hope that gives you a little bit of insight into the dew point. Also, when we're talking about the comfort level, this is an important reason why many meteorologists, even myself included, give the dew point. Because in some of those hotter and more humid climates, it's also that indication of how nice it might feel outside. So remember, dew points in the 40s feel pretty comfortable for us. As we get to the 50s, then we start to feel it. You walk outside and you're still relatively comfortable, but you know, in the peak heat hours of the afternoon, that's when you start to notice the humidity. Dew point gets into the 60s now, and that will be about the time when you notice the humidity a little earlier in the day. You may walk out at 7, 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, and it still feels comfortable. But as you go through the morning into the afternoon, you start to notice it. And when those dew points reach for the 70s, that is about the time when it's even difficult to be comfortable outside, even in the evening hours. Still a bit on the uncomfortable side. The stuffy feel, that muggy feel sticks with you. Some people acclimate to that kind of climate and it doesn't bother them as much, but if you were to pick up and move from the upper Midwest and move to Miami, Florida, you would definitely find those conditions uncomfortable, especially those summer months, because those dew points are going to stay in the 70s all day long. So even at night, even when you may be inside the house, you may still kind of have that stuffy feel to the atmosphere, to the air in the house as well. But for many of us, again, a couple of years in any type of climate, your body starts to acclimate to it, you start to anticipate it. But this is a big reason why, if you move to other parts of the country, other parts of the world, that is why you might find some of the weather uncomfortable, is because of the humidity or lack thereof. Some very dry areas, when the humidity gets very low, such as here in the desert, that's when you start to notice it in the hands and the skin, and your skin starts to dry out. That is because all of the moisture in your body is evaporating through your skin, and so you might notice that you need to put more of that lotion on throughout the year, not just the dry months, but even into the summer months as well. Also, why you're drinking a lot more water. Your body does react to the changes in that humidity, changes in that dew point. So again, I hope this brought a little insight into one of those aspects of the forecast you might see and might wonder, might scratch your head once in a while and go, yeah, what is this dew point this meteorologist keeps talking about on the screen? So there's a little insight to it there for you. And next time you're watching the weathercast, pay attention to that dew point, and then pay attention as to how it might feel outside. And then throughout the year, you might notice those changes in that dew point, in that humidity, and it'll give you a little more insight as to why the weather feels a certain way. And even when you travel to other parts of the country or even other parts of the world, take note of that dew point, and again, how it feels, how comfortable or uncomfortable it might feel. Well, have a good day. Again, my name, meteorologist Jamie Cagle, and enjoy.